Wintertime usually means a few things for project car season. One, your nice car goes away. Two, the one you're working on either goes into a garage or you stop working on it entirely. And the third is that you will go and buy a winter beater and you get that out to have fun with over the winter. Problem is, I may have a garage, but I don't have any space in here to store it. So with the winter weather in the UK not being snowy but cold and rainy, I can't really do much on my Clio 172. The problem is, I sort of have to. I have a goal that I want to get this car on the road by 2025, and I have missed multiple goals on this car already, so I want to get this done ASAP. Problem is, I can't film the way I want to either, so I can't get my nice equipment out and get it ruined in the rain, so I'm going to have to go to a more bare knuckles original route. Almost said something entirely different there. The first two things to sort out on the Clio today will be in here.
Forgive the setup, but clearly this steering rack boot or gaiter is, well, just torn. The other problem is that the outer tie rod does have some play and it does have some tears in the boot. Now, this will fail an MOT. It's not too hard to actually do, but if we try and get a spanner on there, on the nut, and actually spin it, all it does is spin the threads. It spins the whole thing rather than loosen the nut. So that's completely screwed. I'd normally be stuck, but the problem is, the good thing is we have technology. That didn't pop out like expected. Alright, however, there is other ways to do this. Keep something in mind. This nut at the back on the inner tie rod, you want this to be loosened just enough to be able to get your outer tie rod off. Now, one thing that I've always learned is if you want to keep the car's tracking right, if you want the toe to be right, you always count the rotations of the actual, of the outer tie rod. So there's 5, 6, 12, 18. As well, what I would do, I would mark a chalk pen on each side of the nut to make sure that you don't forget where this goes. Otherwise, you'll have to realign the entire car. And also, the play in this, I shouldn't be able to do that with just my hand.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people that watch this channel know what tracking and the toe angle is on a car, but for those who don't, tracking is basically exactly as it sounds. It's tracking where the wheels go. If your toe is out, it can be toed in or toed out. Now, basically what that means is the angle of the wheel. If it's toed in, it will be facing the inner direction of the car. If it's toed out, it'll be facing, as it sounds, the outside of the car. And the tracking is basically just where the wheels sit in relation to the toe angle. So if you take off that tie rod and don't adjust it properly, you can end up having your tracking or your toe angle slightly in or slightly out. Now, what's that going to do? You might think not a lot, but what that will do is it will shear on the side of your tyres, because your tyres are going straight down the road. Your wheel's going to be turned slightly to the other way, so to keep your car straight, you're going to have to turn it to the other direction that the wheel is facing to actually keep your car going straight. That will shear the tyre, that will wear the tyre out a lot quicker, and it's why some cars have inconsistent wear on the tyres. So if you've ever gone to an MOT, your car has failed because the tyres are worn on some parts, but not the other parts, so the outer or the inner, is because your toe angle or your tracking is not aligned properly. That's just fixed by an alignment, which basically on a very basic level is just setting up that inner and outer tie rod to make sure that the wheels are tracking true and straight. So if you go and buy a car and you find it's turned, you can knock a few quid off for that.
If you actually look at the top of the boot, this is what's holding it on. This white plastic zip tie. That's it. You see what I mean? That's all that holds it on. Just one zip tie.
The reason this is so important is because this is what keeps out all of the crap that's on my hands from your steering rack. And if we ever look in there, the actual equipment in there is just vast. There is a lot to go wrong, and just even the smallest amount of dirt in there can absolutely ruin this. So this being like this is an MOT fail for a really, really good reason. So that's ready for the bin. We've done one side, you'll usually do the other side, and it's no different. The problem is,
so the nut that I mentioned here, which is very, very famous for just seizing up, is, well, seized. So the problem is that trying to get this off is not going to work. This will spin, but that nut won't. And in this weather, the only way I'd normally do it is with fire. But in this weather, it's just not going to happen.
the sun is supposed to set in about half an hour because it's winter time. It sets at about 3:30. Problem is that I now need to work on the rear left brake. Now, when I did this before, a couple of people noticed, and I noticed it obviously, that the rear slider was not brilliant on the left-hand side, on the rear left-hand side caliper. Now, I thought I could get away with waiting to get that sorted later, once I'd finished everything else, but if you lift the car up, even with the wheel on, it just simply will not spin. It will just clamp on the brake and it will not let you spin it. So I'm going to have to re-grease the sliders, make sure that they work properly, and then put that one back together. It's not going to be too hard, but it's just a bit of a ball ache that I should have caught originally.
Oh. It spins. For some reason it's now spinning. Anyway, I'm still going to grease those sliders because this I am not going to let go to chance. Oh, Jesus Christ. No wonder the slider didn't go. That is a major improvement.
With it now being about 4:20, the light has completely disappeared, so I think that's where I'm going to have to call it. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. I really wanted to sort out both tie rods, but simply the weather got in the way of the one on the left-hand side and the one on the right-hand side. I got to wait for the boot to be all sorted because I was waiting for a tool to expand the boot to get it over the nut, but that just hasn't arrived yet. So that I kind of failed on. The brakes, the rear brake is a hell of a lot better. That slider's working fantastically and it doesn't lock on anymore, which is going to be brilliant for the MOT. So I'm going to finish a few things off camera, and next time we return on the Clio 172, we've got a few other things to do, like service, bleeding the brakes a little bit more just to make sure they're not that spongy, which I need a second person for, finishing off a few lights and electrical things for the MOT. Not going to do the cam belt, as I said. I'm going to wait for the MOT to pass and then do the cam belt after that, and a few other little odds and ends, and then the car's back on the road. Fingers crossed, done before the end of the year, but we've only got 30 days for that at the time of recording this, so fingers crossed we can get it done. But as usual, thanks for watching this video. Cheers guys, take care.